Hello my lovelies and welcome to my little cottage by the sea, the place where I love to stitch and craft my way to a vintage inspired and sustainable lifestyle. Now if you spend any time with me here, you'll know that I'm not really a summer person. I find summer really hard because as somebody who's very pale, practically vampiric, when I go out into the sun, I just turn into dust or a lobster, either or. And it's taken me quite a while to find some things that are both functional in the hot weather, are also reflective of my style, and I just feel really great when I wear them. I think it's because of where I've been finding my summer style inspiration. So today I want to share that with you. And my ultimate summer style icon is the superlative Sophia Loren. I've spent a bit of time in Pinterest land and I've found a few ideas that I want to share with you. I've got some patterns and some fabric matches, and I just want to talk through some of these ideas and some of the reasons why I think Sophia Loren is such an incredible style icon and why she does summer style just so well. I should add that I've got all the links and these boards over on my journal, so instead of linking them in these show notes, I've linked to the article that I've written, which shares all the information and a little bit extra for you should you want to find out more after you've watched this. I have boards on my phone, I have my eyeballs, and I have a very, very large mug of tea. So this first little grouping of ideas for you to make, I've called Haute Boheme, and it's really this sort of take, this 50s take on peasant gypsy style, which are problematic terms, but this traditional folk dress, and you find variations of this across the whole world, to be honest, and it's sort of really the first types of garments were made this way, just in rectangles, and it's also the inspiration for the outfit that I made in last week's video. So what you need for this is some kind of tiered skirt and some kind of blouse like this. We have this beautiful picture of Sophia up here on this board, and she's wearing a blouse similar to this, and this is my Greta blouse in a broderie anglaise and eyelet. And I think it's really important to actually find a pure cotton one. A lot of the eyelet fabrics, broderie anglaise fabrics, are poly cotton. Now, one of the things about Sophia Loren is she's from southern Italy and the temperatures there soar, so natural fibres are really, really important. And you could, of course, do these tops in a linen. I've done this one in a linen, or some kind of voile or lawn. They look really, really beautiful. And then the tiered skirt, I've suggested the Calypso skirt, which is my own pattern or pattern cutting system. It's just rectangles, totally size inclusive because of that, because you just put the rectangles together. And here she is in an outfit doing a swirl, because this skirt has got swoosh, and she's in some kind of stripy fabric here. Now I found this beautiful Liberty print lawn that has sort of stripes on it, and I thought this would be absolutely beautiful. Merchant Mills also do some fabulous natural fabrics, stripy linens and so on, that would be gorgeous. And you can wear this top off the shoulder like she has done here, and I think it's really worthwhile investing in some really good decorative belts, some sort of cinching belts that will give you that sort of 50s boho look, which is essentially what this is. And then we have this other picture here. Now this is from the 60s, and Sophia Loren loved her food. More on that in a little while. And this is essentially the same sort of top, but I thought it would be really lovely to sort of cut panels to create a rectangle using vintage broderie anglaise and laces, and do something really fabulously decorative. I really, really love this Instagram account called Folkloric Fashion, and they're always sharing these incredibly beautiful embroidered blouses. But that would be very easy to just sort of sew together some linen or lawn and then some eyelet or lace, whatever it is that you have, and then construct a blouse like this. And then here she's wearing a patchwork skirt, which is just fabulous. And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to just do a very simple patchwork with your leftover treasured fabrics. I'd be using Liberty fabric, and then just doing a very, very simple dirndl style skirt. You don't need a pattern for it. You just gather that onto a waistband that is your measurements. That would just make the most incredible outfit, and that is definitely one that I'm going to be making, because I need a patchwork skirt, a Liberty patchwork skirt, that can be part of my Liberty Craft Club series. This next board, Haute Boheme, and again 50s boho, is based off of these photos that I've seen of Sophia. Now, these are all for a film role. I didn't actually know which particular film it was, but this is a sort of a take on some kind of period dress, and basically it's the Greta dress here, a Greta dress or blouse. And I thought what you could do is you could make the blouse a long sleeve one, and you could use a very beautiful voile, which I found at Merchant & Mills here on the left. And then the skirt you could make in this incredible cotton. It's like a Japanese soft cotton in the most fabulous dusky sort of pink colour, and just do a gathered skirt again, because I think the key to summer dressing is just the simplicity. And as much as I love those very form-fitting Dior 50s pin-up dresses, they're not necessarily the most practical if you are getting menopausally hot and sweaty, or just hot and sweaty, or you need quite a lot of coverage. And that's why I really like these shapes, because you can get a lot of coverage. And then how fabulous does Sophia look sitting on her actor's chair on set here, I presume, in her big sunglasses, more of which later, and just some ballet flats. So I think really, really easy outfit. So you could just make this as a dress in the linen here, and all these are from Merchant & Mills. And as I said, everything's linked in the journal piece, but I will also link my patterns down below as well. And now I have a third Haute Boheme look, and I just absolutely love this more structured version. So the looks before are all very loose and drapey and are about gathering volume onto the body. And this look, Haute Boheme 3, is more about achieving that same 50s boho and that same sort of Haute Boheme look, but doing it in a more fitted, structured way. And there are quite a lot of photos of Sophia, and I will share my Pinterest board as well in the show notes, wearing a more structured blouse, but it's still giving off that sort of gypsy peasant vibe. Problematic words, but there you go. This first picture on the left is from Scandal in Sorrento, which is absolutely such a fabulous film. If you can see it, it's well worth hunting down and watching. The costumes that she wears in it are fabulous, and it's quite a ridiculous, silly film, but it is a perfect film for a summer evening. So she's wearing this like buttoned and fitted version with puffy sleeves, and then I absolutely love this picture of her in this dress, which is a similar silhouette minus sleeves, and then she's wearing this fabulous hat. So this is a butterick pattern, and it's quite a more formal shape, but I thought that if you left off the collar and cut the pencil version of this dress out of, say, a cotton sateen, and I've tracked these cotton sateens down. I think they're from Midland Fabrics, but again, everything's linked if you want to see more. And there's this lovely sort of sandy oystery colour, or a kind of denim-y blue that is very, very similar to this dress. Obviously, you could continue the buttons down the front if you wanted, add a belt. And then one of my favourite millinery companies, or actually my favourite millinery company, is Hood London. And this beautiful Berger style hat would be fantastic, I think, with any of these outfits. And then we have her standing here, sighing in the heat, in the midday sun, still looking cool and beautiful and marvellous. And she's wearing this sort of button-up top with just a dirndl style skirt. It looks like she's got sort of a frilled petticoat and then a linen skirt over the top. But I thought that you could do the more flared version. So always the photos on the front of these patterns make them look as if they're more flared than they are. I'm not sure quite how flared this is. This is just a sort of a pleated skirt, but you could add a gathered skirt to this in one colour and do the top in another, so it looks as if you're wearing a blouse and a skirt. But I really thought that was quite a good pattern to get that look. And then of course you've got the option to do more formal kind of autumny looks with it and have an elaborate collar as well, which is always a really fabulous look. Then I just wanted to share a little bit of the Dolce Vita in this particular collage I put together, Eat, Drink and Be Merry. There are so many photos of Sophia Loren eating and drinking and laughing and running through fountains or the sea or whatever it was, and she genuinely looked like she was having the time of her life. And what I particularly love is, unlike so many other stars where you literally would never see them eat, you might see them serving a cake or pouring a drink for Cary Grant or whoever, but she literally had this appetite for life. And she wrote a cookbook, which I'd absolutely love to track down, and was well known for her love of La Dolce Vita. So I think that my takeaway from Sophia Loren is to eat, drink and be merry. I love her quote, "Everything you see I owe to spaghetti." I might be misquoting that slightly, but that is the gist. And she just embraced her curves, she embraced her physicality, she wasn't prepared to not have the good stuff in life at the detriment of fun and pleasure. And I just think that's rather a lovely thing in today's world, where even though we seem to make quite a lot of progress about diversity and shape and size, we do seem to be going backwards a little bit because of medical things, and suddenly it's the thing to be really skinny again, and we're not all really skinny, and I've been skinny and I'm much happier now. This next little grouping I'm calling pretty dresses, because Sophia Loren really did do pretty dresses, and I have found a couple of patterns that I really like the look of. They're replica 1950s patterns, and on this first board, this first collage, we've got this picture of her on the left in what looks like a fabulously pleated confection, and she often wore scarves as belts. Actually, that seems to be like a styling thing of hers, and again, big hat. And I thought that the Simplicity S9913 would be a really nice pattern. So it's this full skirted little button front top with a collar. I presume you could alter it and not have the collar, but I think that's a really nice framing feature. I went a little bit off-piste here with the fabrics, and these cotton Dobby fabrics from Merchant and Mills, and I've used one of them with a really beautiful fluorescent pink to make a Pierrot blouse. The quality of these is incredible. They're really soft, so you would need to line them. But I thought, especially that one with all the different colours on it, all those different spots, very bright and neon, still giving a really understated look, but how fabulous that would look from this other Bergère style hat from Hood London with the tassels. You know my love of tassels, and this sort of scarf as well that goes with it, and they sort of complement each other but stand against each other really strongly. And I just think that would make a really beautiful sundress. Obviously, again, as I say, you would need to line it. And then the other dress was inspired by one she wore in Scandal in Sorrento, and it's quite a structured dress again, but I thought you could make this out of a Liberty, and I love these Carline prints here. So this very sort of traditional English tea rose print, one in a pale pink, one in a lovely lemon, very Amalfi Coast. And this pattern, McCall's Vintage, which can't actually read the number here, but will be listed below. And I thought this dress was great because it's a sundress. It's got this interesting sort of shoulder detail, wrap detail that becomes a belt. And then you've also got the tiers, so it's sort of doing that pretty dresses 50s boho look that is really, really lovely. And I just thought in the Liberty Tana lawn it would look really, really fabulous, and would look great actually with that hat or the one from the board before. Just buy all the hats, buy all the bergère straw hats that you can, because they're wonderful. So pretty dresses too. We've got Sophia in the 60s here, and then a bit later in the later 70s, 80s, and she maintained a very similar silhouette and style. When you look at her photos through the time, she really knew what worked for her, and she sort of stuck to it really. And this is more of a kind of 40s house dress look, I felt, and I could quite easily have gone for some kind of 40s pattern, but I thought this was actually really lovely. Another retro Butterick B6956, and here it's shown as a sort of an overlay over a petticoat, or as a long sleeve dress. But I thought just the short sleeve version with the little collar and a bit of volume, lovely pockets it looks like, would give you the similar sort of look. So I also found here these two Liberty prints, which I don't know offhand the name of, but they're both hearts, and one's a sort of love lace, I think it's called, that blue one, and then this sort of blossomy heart one with pinks and oranges. I thought would make a really beautiful dress. And if you got a belt cover kit, you could make a matching belt to go with this. Perfect accessory, a little wicker basket, because nothing says summer more than a little wicker basket that you bought from a little vendor with, you know, a lemon tree, keeping them and their stock in the shade. How lovely to have that as a memento of your summer holiday. And then finally, just some accessories to go with those beautiful pieces. Sophia is about the big accessories, so big glasses. She actually had her own glasses range, and she was the first actress to have a perfume of her own, a perfume line of her own. She did it before Elizabeth Taylor. And these are just some of my personal picks for match your accessories to your curves. So she did favour a very big sunglasses or glasses, and through the 80s particularly she was always wearing these tinted sunglasses, which was so cool. And I love these, the Diamanda, which are the more that shape, which is basically Sophia Loren's eyes, and then the Guggenheims, these big ones inspired by glasses that the art collector Peggy Guggenheim, who had her gallery in Venice, they're inspired and named for her. And I thought either of these, they've been on my list of wants for a very long time. I've never quite managed to have the money when they're released by Adele Mildred on part of Hood London, but absolutely love them. And then there's Sophia in her swimsuit in a boat with a big hat on, and this hat here, which I don't know the name, this is a Hood London hat, sort of gives you the big sun hat and the glasses in one. I thought it was an incredibly practical solution for those of us who don't navigate the sunshine terribly well. And then here she is looking really fabulous in this big sort of trilby fedora type hat with some glasses. And this straw fedora is from Hood, really, really beautiful. And I also think the other thing that Sophia did very well is she used scarves brilliantly. So through the 80s, and as she got a little bit older, she seemed to wear a lot of scarves at the neck, neckerchiefs and so on. But she also would accessorize her outfits and wear them as belts when they're long enough, which I thought was quite clever, especially those sort of cinched in 50s looks. They work particularly well with that. So lots of scarves and sort of creating this frame here. She really knew what her assets were, and she knew how to show them off. One of the reasons why I just think she's so blooming fabulous is because as she aged, she never really lost sight of herself. She always presented herself as Sophia Loren, and I always felt that what you saw with Sophia Loren was actually who she was. There was no messing with her. She was very, very authentic, and I love the way in which she took her sexiness and she still showed that side of her as she aged, but it never seemed inappropriate or uncomfortable, or it never looked like she was playing to some stereotype. She always looked like herself, and she always looked like she was really comfortable in her own body as she aged. And if you have seen her more recent films, she still looks incredible. And then my last slightly unreasonable accessory is my favourite all-time car, which is the Mercedes Gullwing 1955 Gullwing, which is just a work of art. I think there's sort of quite a few millions and millions of pennies, so would not be able to afford one to go with all of these outfits, but put it on a vision board. You never ever know what might come your way. I really feel like I've found a summer style that works for me. I can sit and enjoy the sunshine and feel cool and also stylish in terms of what I feel is stylish, and I really am thankful to Sophia Loren and her incredible style over the years. She really is my ultimate summer style icon, and I'm really looking forward to making just a few more pieces for summer to enjoy and to wear in the warmer weather, especially that patchwork Liberty skirt. That's really caught my imagination. It's been really lovely to share these ideas with you, which I hope you've enjoyed, and you can find out more by following the link to my journal article, where all the links for all of these things are, should you want to go and make some of them for yourself. As ever, my lovelies, I'm ever so grateful that you take the time to spend the time here with me in my little cottage by the sea, and I'm really thankful for the many kind, beautiful words from you beautiful kindred spirits. You really do make my heart smile. Now I better get back to my sewing room so that I can sew up some more summer things to share with you in upcoming videos, and I hope till then you really take care of yourselves. Bye my lovelies, see you next time.